Hi, this is Monday, the 17th of January, part 2, the drive home. Really rough day at work today. Whew, I'm burnt out. Pardon me while I navigate onto the boulevard here. So got a late start. I'm in one of those situations that I often talk about. I have enough gas. I have enough gas to get home. I have enough gas to get out in the morning and get gas in order to get to work. But I, of course, will follow my own advice and get gas before I get home. It's I'm going to go all the way up to my neck of the woods to get gas because I've got plenty to get there. As I said, I have enough gas to get home and get halfway back to work, so we're in good shape. But I want to mention the prices as I drive by, because I often do. I note the prices, but then I don't note the price. Like I'm suspecting it would make sense that it would be cheaper in Philly, but I'm also driving by gas stations right near the access to the turnpike, so you would think that they would jack them up because that's your last chance to get gas before you get on the highway. So we'll see. I'll read off the prices. I'll try to remember them, and when I read the price in my area, we can decide which one's more expensive, which one's cheaper, because I'm kind of curious as to also the difference between the Wawa up in my area versus the Turkey Hill, whether there's a difference in price there. Contest is still going on. I haven't seen comments on either channel in a few days. Like, I can talk about both channels freely here because this is the one that he has to find and comment on. So yeah, contest, I haven't seen any you know what, I'm on the other account right now, so I wouldn't see comments for this account. So who knows, maybe someone's won already. I can't check now because I'm on my way home and I'm doing the afternoon video. But I work remotely tomorrow. Yay! Which is good. I could use the break. I could also use the extra time. I got a lot of homework at the end of the day. And I could, working at home, I can start a lot earlier without interruption and knock some of that out. It's amazing how, like, one little mistake by somebody else can screw up all your stuff. Can't go into detail, but a lot of what I do relies on other people doing their job properly, so I'm screwed. I'm looking at the Parx Casino lineup, and I've never heard of any of these people. Harmony and someone else. I don't know. Anyway, they're being advertised. They're going to be at the Parx Casino. I have no idea who they are. I'm completely out of touch with modern pop culture. I also don't follow sports ball at all, so here's a 7-Eleven up here. I'm just going to do regular $3.49. Up here at the car wash place, it's $3.45 and 9/10. And then the gas station just before the entrance, which is a Sunoco, it's actually $3.53 for regular. So now, in about an hour and 10 minutes or so, we can look at the prices in my neck of the woods. I was thinking about one of the things I could do. Would be very silly because it would be stale news by the time you got it. Like right now, the morning the morning video hasn't uploaded yet. It's about halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. And I'm assuming it's continuing to upload while I do this, but it won't be done until I get home. And when I get home, depending on what happens, it'll still be a 1 to 2 hour upload, and then I'll have to upload this one. But what I was thinking was, I always listen to the radio for a few minutes so I can get well into my trip before I start these videos. I could give you a recap of the day. Like, it's the market hasn't closed yet today. It was closed yesterday for Martin Luther King Day. Today, the Dow is down 300-ish points, but the other two are essentially flat. I think the NASDAQ might be up maybe 30 points, but it's still not the end of the trading day. So it's not only is it not current, but it's not going to be accurate when you get the information, because the market's still open. Market information I could give you, like the markets will close before the end of my trip, so I could definitely, like, you know, when I get to a stoplight or something like that, or, you know, some horrible tragedy happens on the highway and I have to stop, I can glance down and tell you, like, where the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P closed. And I could also, you know, if there were key stocks you wanted me to follow for you, because you're too lazy. You're too lazy to pick up your phone and set up a reminder, but you don't mind watching an hour worth of video to get to the point where I finally give you a stock update for the previous day. If there is a demographic like that out there, I'm perfectly willing to do it. Just tell me what ticker symbols you want me to set up an alert for. I'll watch them, and whenever is appropriate during the course of this video, I will tell you what they are. In fact, after it uploads, I could even, you know, flash them up over here. I do want to do that. There's like a couple of videos I want to go and do some edits to, add some stuff. Like, like if I steal like a 3-second segment of Rick and Morty and slap it onto the front of one of my videos, is that copyright infringement? Do you have to pay for that if you're stealing like just 2 seconds of a blurb? Contextually, it makes it funny. Like the episode where I was heavily complaining about at the very beginning that I had two subscribers, and I really wanted to start the episode with that part where Rick's there with Morty. He's like, "There's 2 dots. There never needs to be more than 1 dot." I thought that would be funny. I'd like to go back and do that. On the road, flying up, hitting the other side of the car. I don't have just like the day, just this afternoon. I'm burned out thinking about work. I don't want to talk about work, so I'm not saying a lot. So I'm trying to rack my brain for things to talk about. Like, I have a step ladder. I never knew my real ladder. Silly things like that to say. Tell you yesterday? Oh, yeah, so I covered it in the morning video, but I didn't cover it in this video yet. So I did get home yesterday. I took out the ladder, and I pulled down that branch. Unfortunately, I didn't video it, and that's a shame, because that was video gold. Like, it was really close to a Darwin Award on many levels. So I took this, I have one of those really nice ladders. It's an aluminum ladder. It's an A-frame ladder, but the A-frame stretches out. Like, you can double it in size. Like, it's got these things you pull out and then the legs go up. Real beefy, but light. It's not light, it's heavy, but it's beefy, but it's aluminum channel construction. So it's a really nice ladder. It was a great purchase. So anyway, I get that out. I set it up in the street. My wife gets underneath the ladder to steady it. I'm trying to get this branch down that I told you about yesterday. I have this Widowmaker in the tree that was like right over the street. Like, if it were to let go, like right at the right time, it could like harpoon someone's car. Pretty sizable like old growth all around my property. It's a pretty sizable branch, and I get up there, and it is nestled so nicely. Like it's in so many branch crooks, like where they made up perfectly, so you can't pull it. You have to kind of maneuver it around and break pieces off. So I did a lot of that. First, I did something stupid where I had the ladder parallel to the house, which means it would teeter like this because the street's tilted that way. Then I did something smarter where I put it this way towards the house, so it's like, you know, it's tilted, but it doesn't matter. It's like not going wibble. So my wife's underneath. I'm like doing all this stuff. I break part of it off, then I have to use that as a hook to grab it because now it's way out of reach. Pull it down, holding on for all my might. I'd given my jacket to my daughter to hold while I do this. And after quite a few minutes of manhandling, I got it to the point where I freed it from most of the branches, and I could feel that I had the weight of it. At this point, I'm telling my wife, okay, I've got it. I need you to get away from the ladder. She's like, no, I'm holding the ladder. She's like, no, I've already climbed halfway down the ladder. Go over with Cassie, and I'm going to throw this, and I just need no one to be near me. Well, she goes over with Cassie, and then she looks down at Cassie and says, you're dropping stuff out of Daddy's pocket. I had a bunch of stuff in my... I hope it's still there. I had a bunch of stuff in my jacket pocket. It's not there. That's concerning. Ah, here it is. Gum and a scale. That's the stuff that was dropping out of my pocket. Scale, a small ruler, 6-inch ruler, metal ruler. Can't swallow. There we go. So she goes over there. My wife says to Cassie, hey, you're dropping stuff out of Daddy's pocket, because she's holding my jacket and everything. So she didn't mean to go pick it up, but so Cassie starts running towards where I'm throwing the branch. So that was fun. Didn't hit her. But you know, it was just a funny little comedy of errors. Like we were all going for a Darwin Award. C'est la vie. Should have filmed it. It was comedy gold. And everything's content. So I did get the branch out of the tree, in case you were sitting on pins and needles all day wondering, how did he make out with that branch that he had in the tree? I got it. It fell to the ground, it broke up, and there's a bunch of other branches that have fallen off the tree. I've got them in a pile now. It doesn't make good wood, as I was saying earlier. It's it's really porous, it's crumbly, it breaks apart. I don't even want to bring it in the house. I'm sure it would just soot up my chimney. It's not, like, you could literally, parts of it, just squish it into powder. It's not good. All covered in like really thick lichen and stuff like that. In case you're seeing this video, Matt, because I keep saying it every day, the contest is basically like you need to comment on one of these videos before someone finds you in the other channel and tells you that there are videos on this channel and makes you come over and comment that they told you that there's this other channel with videos that they have to get you to comment. The whole contest is either Matt comments before someone tells him to, or someone finds him and tells him to come over and comment, and he does it because they told him to. If they told him to, then that person wins $1. If Matt just comes over and finds it on his own, he wins $1 or dinner or something. It doesn't matter. Like, yes, Matt's being treated special. My subscriber, not Matt. Who is this Matt person? What a mystery. So yeah, that's the contest. Run another contest for that other fella I often mention in these videos. The fella I mentioned that moved up to the area, and that's the reason we started looking for properties up there. Some kind of separate contest for him to make a comment on one of these videos. Or, ooh, cops are pulling him over. He's in trouble. Did I ever tell you people about the time I found a dead body? I'm trying to think if I covered that in one of the other videos. I don't know. I'll tell that story. So, many moons ago, I didn't work for this company, but I worked for a company that this company bought. But I left that company to work for another company. While working for that company, one of the things I would do while I had a certain position in that company in the afternoon would be late morning before I would go home, is I would just walk the perimeter. No one ever asked me to do it. I just got into the habit of doing it just to make sure that no malarkey was going on, because it was in the city. We had lock boxes out there, things like that, because of what we did. We needed things dropped off and picked up, blah, blah, blah. So I like to walk the property, just make sure everything's good to go. There's like not, the streets aren't littered with glass, things like that. Whatever the reasons were, that's what I did. And then one day while doing that, I found a woman like right outside the back, just across the street. There was an empty lot across the street. She was just inside the lot, right outside our back garage door. She had been shot in the face. She was dead. She was very dead. Apparently, like later on, I found out that she had been, was she carjacked? I can't remember the exact details. I think she may have been carjacked, or I think she may have been carjacked at the parking lot, and then they brought her here and shot her. It was pretty horrific. In fact, a good part of the reason why I have the job I have now is because when they went to look for me, because they wanted to bring me into the company to do my knowledge of the company that they absorbed. I'd left before they absorbed that company, and they were having problems, so they brought me back for my knowledge base. They made offers and things like that, and I accepted. Oddly, what I was offered, it never panned out because a bunch of things happened inside the company. It's very funny, but anyway, I was in the newspapers because I found a woman. Like they kept interviewing me, and they kept interviewing me. Yeah, all day, every day. No. Yeah, a couple newspapers showed up at our place. There's an irony to that. I'll explain it later. But so they interviewed me there, and then at home over the course of a couple of days, TV people kept showing up, and I did reports for the first couple, and then I waved off everybody else. Partly because I was like kind of tired of doing interviews, and that particular day, partly because I was pretty hammered that afternoon. Like I was just, I don't think I'd work the next day, so I was I was feeling good. I was home with friends. Had just had that traumatic thing happen. I mean, it didn't happen to me, but I discovered it. So I was, and I remember this. You can't just do an interview for one station and not do it for everyone. Like, yeah. So you're telling me if 100 news stations line up outside, I have to give everybody. It turns out that the local news stations, even if they're not affiliated, they were sharing. And I don't know how that works, but they would share footage. So because I didn't give the other station an interview, they used the like they were gifted the footage that they did get, because I did let one or two news crews into my house and they interviewed me in my parlor, and they're really just looking for sound bites, and that's what I gave them. I knew what to say, it's pretty horrific, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, because I've watched the news. That's all they care about, unless you can be like really overly dramatic and entertaining. They really just want little. They want you to say it was horrible. That's it. They want to be able to put that on the news. So did that. A long time later, there was a civil case. The family of the woman was suing the parking garage, and they wanted me as a witness, but they like, the lawyer was feeding me lines that he wanted me to say in court, and he's like, like he wanted me to go into detail about this. He wanted me to paint a horrible picture of the woman laying there and like ants crawling all over it, but like he was specifically making it up so it's like a kind of a heartstrings pulling thing. It's like, I'll say what I remember, but I'm not telling this story. So because of the way I was, I never had to take the stand. He didn't think I would be, he wouldn't get the desired effect by putting me up on the stand. So I didn't actually have to be, I had to show up, but I never had to testify in any way about that case. Another interesting thing that happened, because newscasters, reporters kept coming to my house, it was causing a lot of commotion in the neighborhood, and somehow at the same time that this happened, I had been in the process of excavating my yard. There was an old dead plant, and it had a root ball, and I had been digging it up, and like I had recently gotten the root ball out, and there was like this giant hole in the back of my yard. This is a pretty big yard. I owned the end property that was a duplex, so in that area, those end properties end up with these ridiculous triangle yards. You've got the side porch, and just it's like, it's a really big, like, even not for being in, like for being in the city, it was a big corner property, really nice. So somehow a rumor had started that I had found dinosaur bones, and that's why the news kept coming around. So, like, news reporters would come and go, and then at one point, we were outside, and there was just this big, because the news vans kept showing up, there was these all these people, and a bunch of neighbors showed up, and one of them, I forget what her actual title was, but she was the head of the local Democratic committee or something like that. And she's like, we're explaining what happened to her. It's like, oh my God, that's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you need anything, contact us. Here's my card. It's like, and she says, you're Democrat, right? And we said, no, we're Republican. And she literally said, oh, turned around and walked away. Like, that was it. Like, she found out we were Republican. She wanted nothing to do with us. She just said, oh, turned around and walked away. It's like, wow. That was something. That just happened. I probably could have stretched that story out further, but there are more details, but it's just minor stuff. On the Turnpike, so I already listed the prices again. I hope you guys are taking notes. There's going to be a test on this. Like, I've given you 4 gas prices already. So now that I'm on the Turnpike, there's a, let's call it a service plaza. There's a service plaza coming up. If I can see the prices of gas in there, I'll also shout them out to you. So be prepared. I wonder how expensive it would be to erect a water tower on your own property. I wonder what kind of zoning you would need. I wonder what kind of zoning you would need. I'm trying to make eye contact with you, but I'm having trouble finding the I'm sorry, I just remembered that thing I was laughing about the other day that I said I wasn't going to. $361. So yeah, it's more expensive on the highway, which is completely understandable. That's where they get you. It's the memes that I keep laughing about in my head are these ones where they change the title of children's books and or the things that they're saying on the cover, and it's just, some of them are just hilarious, and I don't want to say them here. Like maybe I'll write them, maybe I'll even copy them into the comments. I saw one yesterday early in the morning, like I open my phone and check my messages, and that stuff will show up in my Facebook feed, and one of them was just really, really funny. It's not super funny, but it just catches you off guard, because like, you know, it's this cute little face, and then it says this horrible thing, like has nothing really to do with the picture. Like, I mean, it has nothing to do with the picture, except like once the words are said, the context of the picture changes. So, again, if you ask me in person, I should remember what the hell I'm talking about. Otherwise, I might put it in the comments, but I'm just not going to say it in the video. Oops. Here's that exit 326 to Valley Forge. I've explained over and over and over again what I do here. If you guys don't get it by now, then you're not watching my videos, which is a good thing. They are boring. A friend of mine just bought an Ascent. I wanted an Ascent when it first came out. I've never been one to buy a new car. I think that's a bad idea. And the other problem was I wanted an Ascent when it first came out, which I think was 2019. I was already looking at cars before I absolutely had to get another car. And I like Subarus, and I liked the Ascent. I like a larger car because of what I do. I do often need space in the car. We do have a pickup truck. We try now to only use it for pick-em-up truck things, but the Ascent looked like kind of a more luxurious version of the Subaru family. But my buddy's getting one. He's getting a new one, but he's leasing it, and he has this whole mathematical reason why, building equity in the car so that at the end of the lease he can make the decision to either buy it and sell it with the equity, or use the equity they built up in the car for the next lease. When I was younger, I never understood. I mean, when I was younger, I rented, so pay no attention to what I'm about to say. But when I was younger, not very, very young, I never understood why you would ever want to rent or lease anything. Why wouldn't you want to own it so that it's yours and then you could sell it or do whatever? When you're leasing something, like I could never lease anything. I put 12,000 miles a day on my vehicle, so I think leasing, I would end up, at the end of the lease, I would owe them money, which is ridiculous. Like I said, I put over 140 miles an hour, no, over 140 miles a day on my car. I'm afraid to turn that down. I'll turn the camera off. Sorry, the radio, you might not be able to hear it, but the radio is on in the background, and I can barely hear it. I can't hear what they're saying, and it bothers me, so just let this little voice whispering in my ear. Went out to the mall the other day. I went to the morgue with my daughter. She's like all gothy. So the morgue is a store that I think it used to be in the King of Prussia Mall, or some mall, but it's moved. It's now in some other mall that I don't know the name of. But I tried to check in and it didn't show up. And like on the other app that I used to use, Foursquare, which turned into something like groups or teams, or I forget. Anyway, I know how to set up stuff on that. In fact, if you've ever been to Hot Poo Lake, I'm the one that put it on the map. It's somewhere, I think it's on the turnpike, not on the turnpike. I don't know where it is, but I know when I'm close. It's but I'm the one who put Hot Poo Lake, and I don't know if I ever put a description, but the reason it's called Hot Poo Lake is at one point when we were there, like, so it's one of those little islands, like when you get onto or off of a highway, you take that little curlicue, and in the middle there's a squadge of land. Well, this one was always flooded. It was always had water in it, And one day there was a dumpster in this little lake, and someone had spray painted hot poo on the dumpster. So I just named that area Hot Poo Lake. That's the legend. That's what actually happened. So if you go into Foursquare or whatever it's called now, and you see people checking into Hot Poo Lake, I'm the one that put it on the map. We have a picture. We have a picture of the dumpster too. It is on a phone that's in our house. It is on an old flip phone. That's how long ago the picture was taken. Someday we will retrieve that picture from that phone and find a way to get it attached to that location. It's not high on my hit list. In fact, it's probably so low on my hit list, I will die before it's even close to being done. I have a bucket list. I literally I keep a list of buckets that I really like. Like I find, like there's this really cool bronze bucket. Like it's like copper and bronze. It's a copper thing with bronze bands that go around, and it's bolted. There's this really cool wooden bucket, like from like when you drop it into a well, like that kind of iconic thing. So I have like an Excel sheet with all these pictures of buckets that I like. I keep thinking, like, I gotta find a way to fill the time, and I keep forgetting to tell the pink gorilla joke. It's one I really have to start at the beginning of the run, so I'll try to remember that. Maybe I'll do that for tomorrow's run. I'll tell the pink gorilla joke. How many of you have heard the pink gorilla joke? Don't let me forget to get gas. It's I don't know what the temperature's going down to tonight. I should have gleaned that before I started driving so I could tell you guys. But either way, not gonna risk it. Should I get gas at the Wawa so I can top off the air in my tires? Or should I wait to go to Turkey Hill so that I know what the prices of gas there? Depending on what the price is when I get to Wawa, I'll decide then whether or not to get gas there. I really should top off the air in my tires. Like I need to get an oil change. I'm like a couple weeks overdue for an oil change, which is hundreds of miles. I kept putting air in the tires because they literally need like a pound of air to get them where they're supposed to be. So I stopped getting this little warning light. But if I take it to the dealership, they'll just do it. So I'm serious. It's literally like I'm a pound under where it is good, and it's like I guess I'm a pound under low limit is what it is. So I should put air in it. Time is it? Okay. Man, I'm torn. What are we thinking? If it's less than $3.39 a gallon at Wawa, I'll stop at Wawa, get gas, and put air in my tires. If it's more, I'll go to the Turkey Hill. Is that a deal? Can we all live with that, or are we all good? Good. think I've made one video, at least one video a day, every day since the year started, on days where I drive into work. These are piling up quickly, and if I don't go back through them and actually listen to them and start putting in timestamps for any kind of content, it's going to be too much of a task. I'm literally going to have to hire an assistant to watch my videos and just tag the content, which seems like a waste because there actually is no content in these videos. But I have to rename all the titles too. Like I've resorted to just using the date as the title. Speaking of titles, people, I need a name for these channels. I think I said something in the morning video which I really like. I'm going to have to listen to it back because it completely eludes me now. Something dynamic. Doofenshmirtz-Evil Incorporated. I really can't remember. I'll have to listen to the morning video back and see if it's actually a viable name or if I was just like, punch drunk because it's early in the morning and tired. Unlike now where it's late in the afternoon and I'm tired. Awkward is one of those words that I think is like really good at what it does because it's a weird word. Like, it just feels awkward saying it. Abbreviation, I think, is a very bad word at what it does. Abbreviate means to... So abbreviation just feels like they could have made that smaller. Wide and narrow. Like, wide is a narrow word compared to narrow, which is very wide compared to wide. You'd think you'd reverse them, get more of a point across. I used to communicate with one of my friends through really bad onomatopoeias. That was the bulk of my language, was just saying the thing as the sound. At this point, you're all sitting there. You're all sitting there. What is he talking about? What the heck's an onomatopoeia? Oh, okay. You look up onomatopoeia. It's like, I still don't know what he's talking about. He didn't give any context. How about citing some examples? How about some clinical studies? Hard evidence. When I was younger, property was cheaper. Everyone says that, but specifically, I noticed one day when I was younger that you could buy some pretty ridiculous stuff. Like, unfortunately, you can't anymore. There's too many people that want it. But there was a time where you could get a missile silo, like a Trident missile or a Delta missile, I can't remember what kind, a silo, like in ground with the freaking retractable roof, for like between $30,000 and $60,000. Like, cost millions of dollars to build this, tons and tons of concrete. The thing is like a complete, like, absolute fallout shelter, probably a bomb shelter. But they were cheap because they didn't serve a purpose anymore. They were decommissioned. So, like, you you can't use, like, they're not going to be used as missile silos anymore, so they're just holes in the ground. But like, you could definitely convert them into a house, and people do, and now they sell for way too much. Like, I kind of wish I had scooped like 1 or 2 of those up when I was a lad, because that would be a wonderful evil lair, owning an underground missile silo, or just a lair. It doesn't have to be evil, but if you're going to have a lair, give it some flair. Wonder what's going on here. Everything's slowing down. We're actually coming to a stop. I am now traveling at no miles per hour. Oh. Well, I'm next to a van that says Restore Corps Full Service Disaster Restoration that's following the same direction as me, so that's not a good sign. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to watch me, and one day I was in the bedroom. There were people downstairs. I was just playing in the bedroom. I had been jumping on the bed, as kids do, but when tragedy struck, I was not. Ooh, this doesn't look good. I was not jumping on the bed. I was. They had drop ceiling, white panels with brown. The supports were painted brown, so you had the brown grid with the white panels on top. So what I was doing, as you do, is I was standing looking straight up and spinning in circles, because it made neat patterns when you looked at the ceiling and you spun the brown slats with the white background. It looked pretty neat. And I had a hole. I had like a complete blowout in the front of one of my socks, and I ended up tripping over that. I mean, I probably got dizzy, and I fell onto the, my grandfather had passed away, but his commode was still in the room, and it had handrails. It was an older one, like this had to be 40 some years ago. I want to say I was like 5-ish, so this was 40 some years ago. So I tripped, I fell, I hit my face right here on the commode, and it hurt, and I went downstairs because I'd hit myself, and there was a lot of blood, an unusual amount of blood for a Friday afternoon. So I went downstairs, and it was a weird combination of events that happened at the same time, because my mother was arriving as I'm coming down the stairs, and I'm coming down the stairs, and there's just blood, just down my face, just a lot of it. And I'm running towards my mother, and she takes me, and which is weird. I don't think she's that squeamish, but I'm her son, so that's so she takes me and she spins me towards my aunt and pushes me to my aunt. At which point we eventually, we end up going to the dentist or the hospital or something like that. So there's there's endless questions, like, what did your parents beat you with? How much did they beat you? Are they beating you right now? So what had happened, up until the point that we left, or near the point when we left, everyone thought I had knocked all my teeth down my throat. But what had happened is I hit here just right, real hard. So it did two things. One, I forced my gums up over all of my teeth. And of course, caused them to swell too. So it looked like I had no teeth. It looked like I just knocked all my teeth out, and of course, I'd ripped my gums and stuff like that. Just a lot of blood. I can't emphasize to you how much blood there was. Enough. How much to you? How much enough? Can't emphasize enough to you how much blood there was. So they did the x-rays, and it turns out my teeth were still there. They were just underneath the gums, and it took, I want to say it took a couple of months for the gums to go back down. So for the longest time I had to eat by chewing on this side of my mouth, and I couldn't close my mouth all the way, otherwise I would bite my gums, which were still up over here. So I had to chew most of the way, but I couldn't make contact with my teeth for months because the gums on this side had to recede back down between the teeth. So that was a pain in the ass. I would not suggest doing that. A lot of people are abandoning the highway. I'm wondering if I should stick with it. I have to imagine it's an accident. What am I on? Where am I? I could, in theory, get off here and still get home. I'm wondering if it's worth sticking with it. I'll take a few more minutes. Like, I hate it when it happens up here. Like, I know 422 is really bad. 422 is notorious for this kind of nonsense. But I hate getting most of the way into my trip and then getting stuck, like literally, like less than a half an hour from my house and just sitting in one spot for hours. It just. I mean, who would like it? I could turn the radio up and we could listen together.
California home of more than 20 years.
What's very terrifying is when it started, it's trees and debris.
Mud piling up to their roof, breaking through their home and flowing into their backyard, wiping out their patio and shed.
That's pretty sobering. You know, 23 years we haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything like that here where it's actually taken out our home.
More than 500 landslides like this one have occurred statewide since the new year.
The danger doesn't just stop once the rain starts.
David Montgomery is a professor of geomorphology at the University of Washington.
There's some of the deeper, larger landslides where it takes longer time for that water to seep down to the layers that are destabilized. It can take weeks and sometimes even months for the danger to really be past.
Marjorie Cruz worries another mudslide could leave her without a home to return to.
We just are at the mercy of this mud and hoping and praying and, fingers crossed. That it doesn't take strength to the house.
We're about 3 minutes away from traffic.
From the rain later this week, but as you heard, the threat of flooding and mudslides remains. Recent storms there blame for at least 19 deaths. Well, LA police are facing growing scrutiny of the death of a suspect earlier this month. The man, a black Washington, D.C. English teacher who was in Los Angeles, and the cousin of the founder of the Black Lives Matter movement. Now there are claims police used too much force leading to his death. Here's Alex Stone.
It was January 3rd when witnesses told a passing LAPD motorcycle officer that a man had caused a traffic accident, tried to steal another car, and ran away. The officer stopped 31-year-old Keenan Anderson. Hey, stop right there! After initially complying, he ran away, caught on body-worn camera. After a struggle, Anderson was hit repeatedly with a taser and then was arrested. Medics took him to a hospital. He died 4.5 hours later. In his blood, cocaine and marijuana. An investigation is underway to determine if it was a taser, drugs, or something else that killed him. Alex Stone, Los Angeles.
In New Mexico, former Republican candidate for the state house arrested after police say he hired people to shoot at the homes of Democrats in the state. Correspondent Andrew Dimmer reports that Salman Pena is accused of pulling the trigger himself in one of the shootings.
No one was injured in any of the shootings. Investigators say they all followed Pena's failed run for the state house in November. He lost in a landslide to the Democratic incumbent, but Pena refused to concede after the election, I dissent. I am the MAGA king. Investigators say at least 5 people, including Pena, were involved in the shootings. They say more arrests and charges are expected, but they declined to elaborate.
He was arrested by a SWAT team and his home was searched. Albuquerque police say he's accused of paying 4 men to shoot at the homes of 2 county commissioners and 2 state legislators between December 4th and January 3rd. Well, the NFL's wild card weekend is over. The Eagles are locked in on their 3rd meeting with the New York Giants Saturday night at the Link. First head coach Vic Sirianni asked if his team is taking any sort of different approach this time.
They know us well. We know them well. You know the personnel really well. You know the schemes really well. And so there's advantages and disadvantages to both ends of that.
Meanwhile, quarterback Jalen Hurts
We're about a minute away from traffic.
from a shoulder injury, whether he thinks he'll be a target.
Just football. I got a bounty on me every week. I go out there on the field, so go out there and just play my game. You know, whatever happens, happens.
An Eagles victory would send them to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 2017. Of course, the game 8:15 Saturday night at the Link. Closures and delays remain on 422. We'll take a look at that coming up.
No, tell me now.
Raquel Williams. Do you know a game changer? You know, the people who help to lift up and advance the lives of people of color in and around Philadelphia. Go to KYWNewsRadio.com.
I guess I could have been having
to nominate an unsung hero making
my Apple
an
CarPlay
impact
going the
in
whole time, and that would have
Winners
maybe
will be
shown me.
honored during Black History Month.
If I hit that now, will that stop it from recording? I guess it's a risk we'll have to take. Not really. I'm already stuck in this, so it doesn't matter if I find out.
And I'm looking for a good home, like yours. I promise to deliver all the hot water you need for your family. I'm reliable and efficient. And not bragging here, but I'm built to be the best, too. Just ask a plumbing professional. They'll tell you that Bradford White water heaters are a great choice for your home or business. Check out my website, bradfordwhite.com, and even find a pro who will install me.
Piazza, that's the name I was trying to remember before.
So
I don't like Piazza.
Choose Bradford White.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope, we use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios.
Moyer
for their
Subaru,
long-term goals.
they're the ones to go to.
Cookie cutter portfolios,
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
but you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial
Piazza had bought out my old Subaru dealership, and immediately the
So when do you make more
quality
money?
of service
Only when
went
your clients make more
down.
money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structure. So
Went to
we can
Moyer.
let our
Moyer's a much
clients do
nicer.
better.
Sounds like you really
They're
look out for
good.
your
They're
clients.
big, but they're efficient. They're really good.
Comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments.
It's traffic in transit on the 2s. It's after 2.
Securities involve the risk of loss.
422 coming up, a drug to treat diabetes now being sought after by non-diabetics. And I'll tell you why after we talk to Stevie. Traffic and Weather sponsored by American Heritage Credit Union in the PJ Fitzpatrick Common Crooked Traffic Center. Thanks, Michelle. 422 westbound and eastbound. It's closed both directions, but westbound's got the biggest delay. The backup starts all the way back at Royersford and goes out to Saratoga where everybody's being forced off, which means you'd probably just go on High Street through Pottstown and get back on at Armand Hammer. Eastbound is closed Armand Hammer to Saratoga. Accident happened around 11 o'clock this morning. Truck actually went off the edge of 422, like down into the grass. So this has been taking a long time for them to get this out of here. Everybody's taking 724 or High Street. Some people are even talking about taking the Turnpike. Not seeing any big problems on the Turnpike, so that's some good news. Northeast Extension's fine. 95 northbound, spots of slow traffic north of Girard, up to north of Bridge Street. Just sort of stop and go. We don't have any lanes blocked or anything. It's just starting to get busy. In New Jersey, 295 southbound. Seeing some heavy traffic in the area before the White Horse Pike down to 42, but again, nothing too serious. American Heritage Credit Union is the place for first-time home buyers with in-house realtors and a $500 lender credit. For new homeowners, visit AmericanHeritageCU.org/FTH for details. Loan subject to credit approval. Insured by NC.
I guess that's all we really needed to hear. I don't care about the medicine. So there's the cop blocking people from getting on at this entrance. So I'm assuming that means they're going to force me off at the next exit. This has been going on since 11 o'clock. It's 4:30 now. That's a long time to be dealing with an accident. That's surprising. If I lean over here, can't see anything yet. I'm surprised they haven't been diverting people off at earlier exits. Maybe they're just hoping people listen to the radio like normal people and check it out. So I'm actually gonna turn on my Apple Play to see if it shows me the map, and if I lose you, I won't start recording again today. So that would be the end. I feel like I should say have a wonderful day just in case, because apparently I've been saying that at the end of every video. Hey, look at that. Oh my. So yeah, I'm stuck in deep red, and it goes on for a long time. And oh my. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Yeah, it's looking like it's adding at least another hour to my trip. That makes me sad. Which does give me enough time to tell a pink gorilla joke, but I'm just not in the mood for it now. Now I'm all angry because I'm gonna be stuck sitting here for an hour. Another hour. Like we're already an hour into the trip, and it's looking like, yeah. So I'm old and unhealthy now. One of the things that in my youth, when I was thin and fit, I had a zero recovery time. Like, we went to gym and we did these tests where you step up, step down, step up, step down on this bench thing, and you had to do this for a couple of, like, they'd record your heart rate before and after. Like, I used to have a really low heart rate. I had abnormally low blood pressure. In fact, I have vagovasal syncope, meaning that my body would oversteer when it came to pressure. So things would make me like needles would make me pass out. But if I stood up too fast, I could pass out. Anything that caused a sudden increase in blood pressure, my body would go the other way. My veins would open up. All the blood would drain, out of me, just down to the legs. It's a self-correcting thing. So like the blood drains out and you pass out, which means you fall onto the floor and then everything equalizes. It's a self-correcting condition. But I think that's part of the reason why when I was young, I was really addicted to salt. My daughter's addicted to salt too, but I don't know what her blood pressure is. I try to stop her from eating salt because she definitely shouldn't eat as much as I ate. But I used to like just handfuls of salt. And I thought thinking it's a body correction thing. Like my body knew its blood pressure was really low and was trying to, retain water. And that's one of the things they told me to do. They told me to bulk up, drink plenty of fluids, because that helps alleviate the symptoms of the vasovagal syncope. To the point, there's a scene in Scrubs where this happens, but yeah, just pressure changes. You could be standing at a urinal, and if you take a long piss, that could be enough to make you pass out because the pressure. Like right now, I'm a great big fatty, so there's not going to be any lack of blood pressure. It can happen. It's so severe that at one point I was in the hospital. I think I was in the hospital for chest pains. I don't remember exactly what it was related to, but I told the woman, the nurse that was there, she was going to give me a needle, and I said, you just have to warm me, give me the needle. So I was laying down on the gurney at the time, and I guess she had forgotten my words of warning, and she just comes over and she just sticks this needle into a port in my arm, or she sticks a port in my arm. I can't remember, but either way, it's like, you know, I need to be eased into it, otherwise I pass out. So I start going out. I'm like, shit, I'm going, like I'm gonna pass out. Well, I'm already laying down and I'm passing out, so that wasn't good. And it was, I was already hooked up to the machines. My wife was there, and all the machines start going off, like people just start going crazy, and like I'm doing some kind of weird countdown thing. I'm like I'm going, and like my wife, she thought I had died right there. Like I had gone white, my lips had gone blue. Like obviously the machines went crazy because my blood pressure dropped to 0, and but they brought me back, and my I think my reward for this was they had put a patch on my chest of nitroglycerin, and it exploded, killing us all. They put a nitroglycerin patch, like actual powdered nitroglycerin, like under tape against my skin to, which I think should have killed me, because I think that isn't that a vasodilator? Anyway, the upshot of that is nitroglycerin gives you a headache. So the next day I had this headache, non-stop headache from the nitroglycerin. So that was lots of fun. I hope I'm not breaking any HIPAA rules by telling you part of my medical history. HIPAA violations start coming in the mail. You've got mail. To the reason I know I have vasovagal syncope, it's not just because that stuff happens. I actually got diagnosed with it. I had to go downtown Philly to the hospital. They did a tilt table test on me, which is exactly what it is. They hook you up to this table, and they just keep doing this. Like you're strapped to the table, and they just keep tilting you up and down. And if you pass out, you have vasovagal, and I passed out. Just the act of putting me on the table and tilting me back and forth like this, just boom, out like a light. It's like, yep, you've got vasovagal syncope. It's like, okay, thank you, goodbye. I don't think there's any, like, stay hydrated. So this is painfully slow. Like I know they're forcing us off the next exit. What is there, a stoplight there that only lets 2 cars through at a time? The ETA is getting worse. I still have plenty of gas. I still have enough gas to get home and halfway to work, so I'm not concerned about that. I am concerned. I know I could afford to skip a meal, but I'm really hungry. I may have to reach back and get some goldfishes. A long time ago, I don't know if Microsoft always had the ability to remove duplicates. I mean, I know it's up in the ribbon right now, but before that was there, or before I knew it existed, I actually wrote a script for removing duplicates because I needed one. Like one of the things that I did for work, I often needed to remove duplicate records. It just made my life really simple, and doing it manually when you're dealing with hundreds of records is a pain in the ass. So I found a way to write a script that would do it, and not long after I wrote that script, it came out with the function, or I was made aware of the function. If it was always there, I'm just a fool, and anything, I don't mind learning things, like even if there's a function for it. There's no harm in teaching yourself how to do something, but I really would like to know when they came out with that remove duplicates function, if it was always there. Like I learned functions like Excel is a really robust tool, and every once in a while I pick up a new trick, and it's really nice. I love using Excel. Like even when I'm not using it for work, like just for fun, like just doing math for fun. I wish it had more precision, because I often make mistakes. Not mistakes in the fact that like I'll be doing a calculation. Like there's like certain things, like I make a Sierpinski gasket, and like there's this other thing. I forget what it's called, but it's a little exercise you do. I'm trying to remember it. I have the actual thing. It's like if a number's, I forget. It's one of those things where it's like if the number's even, you multiply it by 2 and add 1. If the number's even, you divide it by 2. If it's odd, you triple it or multiply it by 2 and add 1. I forget. But anyway, you follow that pattern for every number, and it goes up and down until it reaches, like, it eventually ends at 2, and I think it's an unproven thing. I'll try to find out what the actual equation is and what the rules to the game are, and I'll post them in the comments. But I do that on my, like I did that on my, in Excel, and like, you know, look at the pattern, try to, but I keep forgetting that there's only so many significant digits in Excel. Like I think after 14 digits, everything becomes zeros. So you could only follow the numbers up to 14 digits. After that, the pattern doesn't follow anymore, because no matter what, it's an even number because it ends in 0. So the pattern breaks, and you're not really looking at the real data. And like I'll end up doing stuff like that in Excel, and I'll forget that, like, you know, as these things race off to infinity, anything after 14 digits, it's just useless data, because you've no longer got any kind of accuracy, because it's truncating the number. Not only am I not moving, I'm looking way down the road now, and I can see around that curve down there, and they're not moving too. Oof. And the ETA just keeps getting longer and longer. It's now well over an hour until I reach my destination. I've been on the road for well over an hour, and I've got well over an hour to go. Boo. I was saying boo earns. Somewhere in my groggy morning thoughts, I was contemplating just counting. Like one of these trips, just get in the car, start the video, and just start counting. Start at 1 and just sit here and count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. For the entire trip. It's right up there with sitting in silence. I still might do it. If it's going to be no content anyway, at least maybe we could use like snippets of it to run a number station, because that's what everybody wants to do when they grow up, run a number station. Maybe we should try a traffic reversal. That always works. Like, how bad an accident could it have been for 6 hours later for them to still be cleaning it up? Like, was part of the road destroyed? if that's the case, I can't imagine someone wasn't hurt. Did I ever tell you about the time I found a body? There's the illusion of movement right now. Like what's happening is cars are squeezing together. I can see down the road. Those vehicles have not moved. So we're just smallening the gaps between cars at this point. Nobody's going anywhere. Ouch. I once had a 76 Camaro, Nova, Chevy Nova. I had a 76 Chevy Nova with Scotch interior, straight six. I think it was a 327. Cold. And I used to drive it constantly. I loved driving when I was younger. Like, I just loved being behind the wheel of that car. It was absolutely awesome. And one day we had watched a movie, and my fiance and her best friend went home. And me and him just decided to go out driving, and I got into this terrible accident. I rolled the car up on its side into a tree. I don't know how it happened. Oh my God, it's getting worse by the minute. Like, what is happening? How is the situation getting worse? It's getting close to 2 hours now until on top of the regular. Our soda bottles came out, crashed into each other. Glass back then. Glass and soda everywhere. Everything was sticky. We rolled up onto the passenger side and rolled back down. The car, like, I eventually got it to start, but it sounded terrible. And we were driving. We were able to get it to drive home. He was injured. I forget. Minor, like just minor, like, you know, bumps and bruises. So we were able to get the I was able to get the car started. The engine sounded terrible. We were driving it. It was like, vroom, vroom, like I knew I had totaled it. There's no getting around that. Like, the car was done. I get home, like, I look at the outside. That side of the car, I had literally picked up the grass. Like, there was grass in the side walls of the tires, like in the rim and everything like that. I'd been driving and there's just grass. And like, at the time, I don't think the brakes were working either. So we were driving really slow and honking and screaming at intersections. This was the middle of the night, so there wasn't any traffic to speak of. Got the car home, parked it behind the house, and the next morning I went out to, like, really survey the damage with some light to see what was going on, and it really didn't look that bad. For rolling it up on its side and stuff like that, there was I don't believe there was any broken glass. There wasn't, like, I must have just hit everything just right, because I don't remember there being much denting damage. This was my red Nova. So I checked the oils and fluids and stuff like that. The oil was really low. So I topped off all the... Why is my high beams were on? That's happened to me multiple times over the past few days. Topped off all the fluids, and the car ran fine. Like, I don't know what that ka-chunk thing was or any of that, but the car ran fine. I mean, it was a little dinged up from the accident, but it was perfectly fine. No problems at all. Didn't even have to take it to a mechanic. Like, everything was fine. Wasn't leaking oil. I have no idea what happened that night with the ka-chunk and what happened to all the oil that was in the car and why the brakes weren't working, but everything was fine after I put some oil in it. worse. I'm looking at the map's not changing, but the ETA just keeps climbing. There's helicopters way off in the distance, and when I say helicopters, I mean one. There's a helicopter off in the distance, and I assume it's hovering. Oh, now it's two. So now it's helicopters. So I assume that they're over the accident. I'm trying to gauge how far away they are, and they look like they're at least a mile away. Is this another accident? Or is this just some people hanging out by the side of the road? May have a little fender bender off there to the side of the road. I've said in a previous video, I've gotten rear-ended on 422. Getting closer to the helicopters. One is way up in the sky. The other one's just up in the sky. Whenever I see helicopters on the road and I start looking up at them like this, I always think of the movie Goodfellas. Am I vibrating? Now it's just me. Jesus. The movie Goodfellas, when he was like, you know, the feds or whatever were watching him. So there's traffic coming the other way. So I guess that makes sense, because wherever they're going to force us off, that's probably where they're letting people on. So yeah, I guess I'm always going to see traffic coming the other way. Well, that's interesting. Suddenly something changed. I believe they may have, I think they may have cleared the thing, because the ETA just drastically dropped. I'd like to tell you about the first concert I ever saw, but unfortunately that's, oh, look at all the birds! That's always a security question. Like, you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful about personal information you give out. I mean, I never tell the truth on those forums anyway. I've got these standard lies I tell. Ooh, that's neat looking. I wonder if you guys can see it. Probably not. This is going to be a disaster if I end up touching the screen. Go a little further. No. I'm just going to keep it like this for a minute. This doesn't look awkward. Soon you'll be able to see. It won't be the same. Jeez Louise, will you just work? So close. And now the thing's blocking it. Come on, the lighting's perfect. So anyway, the trees are gonna get in the way. The cooling towers are going full blast, and they're pumping it into the sky, and there's like this hollow where there's dark clouds and light clouds. I should have just taken it off the thing, but me and my wife have this issue with the new, I my phone where with the case they give you, it's you can't avoid touching, like no matter what you do when you grab the phone, you end up touching the screen and ending whatever you're doing or starting a video or linking to somewhere else. So even though the ETA has gotten better, something's happening because everybody stopped again. I don't know how we're able to move. Like, I have to imagine if they've opened up the road, this would like just suddenly like, you know, move along swimmingly because there would be no one ahead of us. All right, so I'm getting very close to the Helio choppers, and oh, the other one is way up there. So maybe a quarter of a mile away from the copters. Don't mind me. These are transition lenses, so I can see you clearly here. And I can see you clearly when I go completely out. Like from here to here, you guys are blurry. I can see you here. And of course I can see you when I look under the glasses. Well, I can't see you, I can see me. I am the walrus, cuckoo, cuckoo. So that helicopter's going away. The other one's way over there. So it looks like they're disbanding. So that's a good sign. It's still showing that it just keeps changing. It's weird. Like I wonder, I don't know where it gets its information from. Like I don't know how the whatever's coming through the Subaru through my phone to tell me like what the ETAs are and the best way to go. There's like emergency vehicles everywhere. There's flares here, like blue lights galore. Reminds me of the good old days. Oh, look at that. Sweet fancy Moses. That's not what I thought it was at all. That's just 4 sacks on skids. I thought it was a crushed tractor trailer. What in the world is that? There's some... There ought to be a law. There's so many tractor trailer tires blow up on the highway. Like I can't believe that is not monitored more closely. I know that's caused so many accidents. Like I've personally seen multiple tires explode while I was on the highway, which means it has to happen all the time. So as I'm looking forward, I wonder, I can't, there's no way for me to flip it now that I'm recording. I wish I could flip back and forth between you looking at me, because that would have been easier. If I could have flipped it around, I would have had a better angle of whipping stuff around. Oh, I've got to get out of this lane. Ah, geez. Oh dear. I wouldn't normally be concerned, but it's 422 and everyone's a jerk. We have to zipper. I've put my turn signal on. I'm ahead of you. Let me zipper. Like he's not letting me zipper. He's literally just he'd rather we have an accident than zipper. People are the best. Oh my, not sure what just happened. I'm gonna hit this button. But there's nothing in that lane. Why are they forcing us out of that lane? There's nothing going on. If you look out this side, you might be able to see the emergency vehicle. That was it. Now he's in my rear, right about there. You could have seen him for a second. And I'm coming up on another one. So this is definitely the area where it happened, but there's nothing here, and they've still got that lane blocked. My GPS has gone, I want to say, bug fucky. It can't decide what it's doing. Got a little circle of death around the what would normally be the go button for the address that I'm trying to get to. I'm not going to hit go because the thing will start talking again, and I'll have to do that edit thing. Left lane closed. Got it. So if I haven't mentioned on this channel, there are actually multiple 422 Sucks pages. Like there's a Facebook page called 422 Sucks. People really don't like 422, and it's a route cannot be shown because of a problem connecting to the server. Problem connecting to the server. Okay. There be a problem connecting to the server. I'm going to hit X here. Fire police, some yellow trucks, a plow. A wrecker, a fire truck. Police pickup truck, a little bobcat. Oh my. So it must have gone, off the bridge. Yikes, that's not good. Yeah, so they had like, I guess part of the truck on the crane. They must be like fishing it out bit by bit. Not sure why West was closed though. So back to our regularly scheduled program. So we're an hour and a half into it. It's going to be a long one today. Who knows when this one will post? Because the other one hasn't posted yet. I'll probably have to start it all over when I get home. Whatever that no server thing was, and the fact that I'm recording now, I wouldn't be surprised if the upload failed. Either way, I'm sure there's like at least 2 more hours worth of upload once I get home. It's weird, some days, like there was a couple of days there where it like just zipped right up to the server. I don't know what's different. Man, there's like more emergency medical. They're just blocking the highway, blocking people from getting on here. Yeah, so I imagine that had to be a pretty bad accident. It looks like the truck actually went off the bridge. How do you do that? Jesus. Could have been you look over there, it looks like they're moving, but they're not. They're all stopped. They look like they're moving because I'm moving. But yeah, that whole line, they're being forced off at that exit going the other way. Smooth sailing. Doing for dinner tonight. I didn't prep anything. Stop the gas station. I mean, I could completely skip all of these and go to the Giant and get gas. It's partway through the month. I'm sure we've shopped there already. I might have some points off for gas. I don't know what I would grab for dinner. Like it's a bit late right now. I could call everyone. Well, at least I want to let you know the gas prices before I make that decision. So we're coming up to the how do I stand for air pressure? So 1 tire is now good, and 3 are just a hair under low limit. I mean, since I'm this late, I think maybe I should just top off my tires. But that would mean I'd have to stop it. Doesn't make sense because I'm not going to work tomorrow. There will be no videos tomorrow, at least no drive to work or drive home videos. I generally work remotely on Wednesday. Harbor Freight. I know I went on at length yesterday like a little school child, but yeah, those $4 Harbor Freight bar magnets, like they're go get them, boy, go, come on, go get them. They're fantastic. Like I said, I'm using one in my kitchen for my daily driver knives, and I'm going to use some downstairs for tools and such. Going to find uses for them. In fact, I think I might not have said this, but I'm actually using I've got 2 cleavers, 3 or 4 knives, and my go-to tongs, all hanging from the magnet in my kitchen. I don't like my go-to tongs. I've got to get better tongs. I got like dollar store tongs. They work, but I want something a little more robust. I've got multiple sets of tongs. I've got like one nice set, one weird holiday set. Doesn't get much use, like little Christmas. What's that material called? It's like rubbery, Kevlar, Mylar. The hell is it? It's like this rubbery material that's heat resistant. Silicone. So it's like little silicone Christmas trees on the end, like they're Christmas tree grabbers. Then I think I have a pair of black plastic. They're covered in black plastic. That may be silicone too, but harder. And then I've got like the standard, just stainless steel, black ones. Just plain stainless steel, no fancy stuff. And then the one that's like an XO. It's like got a beefier handle, like pulled. But I got 2 or 3 of the just cheap dollar store ones that, like, if you push on them, you dent them. But they're my go-tos because they're the right size, they're the right length, and it's like, so if the tool works, you use it. So one of those is hanging on the magnet. Can you remember what the gas prices were at the beginning of the episode? There's a gas station there. I'll read that price, but I would never stop there. It's out of the way. 359. I should have got gas in the city. 359 at Giant there. I think it was 345. 345 was the lowest price, or 339. I think the lowest price on the way here we saw was 339. In fact, I was saying if price wasn't below 339 at the Wawa, I would go to the Olive Garden, Turkey Hill to get. Man, now I want an Olive Garden salad. They have great salads. I could just eat those all day. That bottomless salad they give you, I know there's not much to it, but it's just like the perfect combination. I love that salad. The pepperoni in it. I mean, my mouth is watering. It's late, so I may get a phone call. If this ends abruptly, it's probably because someone called me, because it is, like, I've usually called by now. I think by now I've usually ended this, so I'm not, whatever. I've usually ended the video before now, so I may get a phone call. So if it suddenly goes into blackness, it's because somebody called me to find out where I am. But we're just moments away from Wawa, so I would hate to deprive you of knowing what the price is of gas at the Wawa up here. And I think I had figured out that I thought it was, like, even though it's the city and it's near the turnpike, I think the price of gas is actually cheaper because it's, I don't know, it's the inner city. Like, I feel like out here I'm out in the sticks, so they have to travel out here to deliver gas, so I have to imagine it would be more expensive. But I say all that, and then I'm going to get up here and it's going to be like $3.20 something a gallon. I'm going to feel like a fool. Let's find out. I used to have a card for Turkey Hill, but then they changed the whole system, and I hadn't gotten a card since. My Giant card is now on my phone. Good timing too, because like days after I got the card into my phone so I could scan it at the register, the actual card that I used to carry that broke in half finally. I'd been holding together the two pieces that were together by a thread and scanning that. They're like, that's not going to scan, and they were all surprised when it did. I'm surprised every time too, because tattered and torn from the rain the night before. This is what I saw. Chew, Wrigley's beer and cigarettes. No. Smoke. Wrigley's beer and cigarettes. Something beer. I can't remember the song. Some song about the billboard torn and tattered from the rains and winds the night before, and like all these advertisements are intermingled into a song. All right, I am now cresting a hill. After I crest this hill, the Wawa should be in sight. A few moments after I crest the hill, I gotta go around this curve a little bit. So, the price of gas at the Wawa is, drum roll please, too far away for me to read. We have to get closer. It is 3. I can definitely make out the 3. 3:59. Jesus. 3:59. All right, we're gonna go to the Turkey Hill. I think I'm gonna be I'm going to be buying my gas in Philly from now on. 3:59. So it's 20 cents more than the best price I saw in Philly on the way here. So what do you think it's going to be at Turkey Hill? Do you think the Wawa has the clout to undercut all the local places? Because that Wawa, that Super Wawa is relatively. I think they only build Super Wawas now. But that one's relatively new, past couple of years. So are they undercutting? Like, is the gas at my Turkey Hill going to be significantly more expensive than that, or will it be less? I don't have the card, so I'm afraid it's going to be more, because they give you the card to knock 3 or 10 cents off a gallon. I can't remember, and I don't have one, and I don't have enough gas to make it back into the city. So, how much gas do I have left? Haha, 40 miles to go. After I read off the gas price, I will let you go, but I will get gas. Can I see it from here? I can see the bad Dunkin' Donuts. Does my face look red? Oh my. It's one thing I don't like. Going to work in darkness, coming home in darkness. I'm not getting enough vitamin D. All right, get ready, get your notepads ready. Picture pages, lots of fun with picture pages. Let's see. I see you quiver with anticipation. 3:49. Have a wonderful day.